Yeah, they did a temporary filling because they said that well, they couldn't tell where the pain was coming from, so they did a bunch of X-rays.
They didn't pull it out, huh?
No, it's a canine, and it snapped kind of, but she said no, it just you lost part of the side of the tooth and then the entire filling. She said it's completely salvageable. So, but she said because your gums are bleeding because you have gum disease, we can't do the filling. So I was going to do the filling, but I'm just going to have to do a temporary filling. And then she looked at another tooth that I had done a long time ago, and she said that she believes internally there's something going wrong inside that one, and that might actually be where I'm feeling the pain from.
Well, David, there's the two stories.
Oh, and she did a temporary filling for free.
For free?
Yes, because basically my insurance would not cover it, basically, and it's a temporary.
Nice of her, geez.
I really thought so too, and I was like, thank you so much. But what I did find out is because I'm not working and the sliding scale is really good over there. And I had no idea, but the problem is that you can't get seen unless it's an emergency. So I gotta wait until they call me back. You leave a message, they call you back, and then maybe, a year later you might get in there. But I need to get a cleaning really, really bad because I've got such bad problems with my gums.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret about gum disease.
What's that?
Well, this dental hygienist told me this a long time ago, and it sounds really stupid, but she said everybody brushes your teeth, but you really need to brush your gums.
It makes sense.
And it builds up the gums, and you won't bleed because your gums will get stronger that way.
Well, this lady said I have such a high amount of buildup of plaque that basically it's going to have to be a serious cleaning is the only way, and no amount of brushing is going to reverse it.
Well, sometimes you have to go in 2 or 3 times a year for cleanings to get that plaque off, but it's better than leaving it there.
Well, I haven't been to a dentist since I was a kid as far as for cleanings, just because I've never had any kind of decent insurance or anything like that. It's always been like emergency, wait till, something's really bad. So what I did was I went there and I showed up as soon as they opened, right? And I got in there. And I told them, I said, man, I have really bad tooth pain. I need to be seen. And they said, well, we don't have anything open today. But if you want to wait here and see if somebody doesn't show up. And the 8:15 appointment did not show up. And then, so, boom, I was all lucky.
Hey, usually the dentists are more cutthroat than that, they don't like to work for free.
This is a community health center clinic. They do everything there.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, this is not a dentist office. No.
When David, by the way, was listening, I learned it was all the way until I was an adult before a dentist told me that you got the gums, and it's completely true. I had absolutely no clue of that before they told me.
No, neither did I. I thought, you better be careful with your gums and stuff like that, but this hygienist, she says, you got to build up your gums. The teeth don't really need to be brushed that much. It's the gum. It's the gum. It's stupid. The gum.
Yep, you turn it so the bristles go up between the tooth and the gum. And then after doing that, brushing upwards around the gums like that for a couple of weeks, it strengthens, and then that's it. You never have that problem again.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I was a kid, I would brush my teeth and try not to touch my gums with the toothbrush.
Basic things that we're or not taught in school. You know what I mean? It's just irritating.
Well, you know, I can't believe all the sugar I was eating as a young kid. And I had, you know, lots of cavities. And I don't know why nobody ever said, well, it's your diet, but you know, why are you eating all that sugar? No wonder your teeth are getting so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I drank so much soda, you know what I mean? And it's just like horrible.
But did you know also, Clark, that they found a relationship between gum disease and plaque and Alzheimer's disease?
Not Alzheimer's, but I know that it's the condition of your teeth and gums directly correlate with heart disease. They claim it's the number one cause of heart disease. Actually, now it's weird, but they said it's if you don't take care of your teeth or you have gum disease and you let it go, it's really, really bad for your heart.
I wonder why.
I'm not sure. You have to go and read about it, but I'm telling you that's it's in your bloodstream. She just said, yeah, and it's just really, really bad. It can cause congestive heart failure and other things.
I definitely heard that more than one time. I've heard it several times, so I know that it's most likely true.
I had a friend of mine, his aunt, he had teeth cleaning, and I guess a particle of plaque or something wasn't, washed out of his mouth, and he swallowed it, and it went into the circulatory system into his heart. He had a heart attack, and he had to go in for heart surgery. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
He said it was rare, but it's really important when they clean the plaque off your teeth that it's washed out, that you don't swallow it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like maybe he had a small artery, like maybe he had already plaque built up on it, and this thing got in there and enlarged itself.
That could be, I think you're right.
Well, just think about, your arteries are just like a drain pipe, right?
That way they put Drano in your veins? Oh no.
Comment.
Walt, KB6HOP, guys copy me?
Yeah, just talk or say your call sign. We're not sure what you mean. Go ahead, man. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, well, you guys are talking about that. So I went to the dentist last week. I've been on this carnivore diet for about 8 or 9 months. And so the guy makes a comment. He says, I never seen gums like you have. I said, what do you mean? He says, you got gums like a young person. And he says, you're in your middle 80s. He says, what are you doing? So I said, I just don't eat carbohydrates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I don't know, but you guys are talking about it. And I know a lot of, I thought I had recessed gums, but he said, no, they're good, so he's got to do a little work on one of my teeth in the front, but he said, you heal, you don't bleed or nothing.
That's interesting, yeah, because I'm on the keto diet, so I'm not eating a whole lot of carbs, but apparently it's not helping me yet.
Well, I don't know. I've been on it for about 8 months. It's not hard for me to do, but it would be hard if I were younger when I was, I live by myself now because my wife passed a few years ago, and, we had a broader diet and stuff like that. But nobody'd ever said that prior to about my gums, but that's what this guy said the other day, and I about fell over.
Well, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I've been on the keto diet for about a year now, and it's been really good for me. My wife is doing the carnivore diet. She's lost about 50 pounds, and also she's no longer pre-diabetic.
Yeah, well, that's why I went on it, because I went to see the doctor about 9 months ago, and he said, You got 8.9, what is that? The one for diabetes, you know, and so they're going to push on all this stuff, and I said, I don't do that stuff. So anyway, I said, I'll take care of it. So I went back in 3 months later, and my A1C was down to 6. And then he checked me 3 months after that, and it was down to 5.7. I'm ready to go back now. I know it's lower than that now. So, and everything else that was going wrong with me went away.
Yep. Well, I'm a firm believer that they've been teaching us the wrong stuff all of our lives, telling us to eat this and eat that, and don't eat fatty foods, and don't do this and don't do that. And I think it's all backwards.
I think I agree with you, because my wife followed that stuff to a T when she got sick and she got cancer, and I took her, you know, I had to take care of her for about 2.5 years, and you know, she followed all that, she took all that medication, and then she went off and died, you know. So, and her kidneys failed. It wasn't the cancer. The cancer was arrested, but man, it left her a different person. And so I did it with her, and I said, hey man, I'm too old. I don't want to go like she went. And I mean, she had like a poor circulation in her feet. She had to give herself shots in her stomach for insulin, and you know, but she followed everything that they told her to do. But so I went a different route. So far, it's working.
Amen. Yeah, keep doing it.
Well, I can do it because I'm by myself. So, you know, I feel good all the time. That's what motivates me to keep going.
Yeah, I noticed that my moods and my energy and all that got a lot better once I cut all the carbs and stuff out of my diet. I mean, you know, we just eat a lot of ground beef and steaks and stuff like that, and you know, so I love it.
Oh, me too. Okay, I just wanted to pass that on to you. But you know, I'm a live representative of that, because I did it. This is not somebody told me about. I'm doing it, and I've lost 30 pounds. I'm not really pushing it to lose weight in the wintertime because it's cold out. But as soon as it starts to warm up here a little bit, I'll go back to 2 meals a day.
All right, cool. Thanks for jumping in there, Walt. This is KG7H3R in Prescott Valley. There's a whole bunch of other guys on here if you want to say hello, too.
Well, hi, guys. I'm ready to hit the 4-poster in about 20 minutes, so, but I listen to you fellas as much as I can. So you guys have a real good evening. KB6 HRP, I'll be listening.
73 Walt. 73 Walt.
Well, Terry, what do you think of the radio? Does it sound on frequency?
I think it sounds great, yeah. I heard you guys when you finally flipped it to through, and then when you went to setting 3, that was perfect.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The radio was off frequency yesterday, and I just touched the master oscillator, just touched it a hair, and you know, it bumped it up to 50 hertz. It was off by. It wasn't off a lot.
Leave it alone.
Oh yeah, I used some Armor All on it too, Terry.
And super glue that thing.
I put well, no, these have a vinyl cover on the case of the radio, so Armor All works really nice.
I know. Armor All brings a lot of stuff back. That or that Formula 3000 or whatever that's called.
Yeah, I'm using the little squirt bottle. It's got like the air freshener in it too, so it's really great when you get a smelly radio. But if it's some of the Yaesus have vinyl wrapped on the case, and some of them are painted. If they're painted, I don't touch them with anything.
Right, yeah, and you know, I use John Brucci from Swan showed me a lemon pledge. It really works good. You put it on and you buff it off when it dries a little bit. But it's good for the face, you know, all the plastics, and it's anti-static, so your meters won't jack up.
Oh God! You know how many times I've touched the meter because there was a smudge on it, and all of a sudden now you got static on it.
Yeah, lemon pledge in the spray can.
Yep, got some out here. I used it a few times on the other Heath kit.
Yes, I was fighting that problem with an old Siltronics 1011D, and I brought it to him, and I said, I can't get the meter to act right, you know, and he goes, well, the meter's, that face of that meter is really screwed to start with. I go, yeah, I tried to clean it with everything, and I can't get it cleaned right. He goes, well, I'll show you what to clean it with, but you want me to replace the meter first? I go, yeah. So he put another meter in there, and then he brought out the lemon pledge when he was all done, and you know, did the whole radio. Looked like brand new. I go, man, that's fantastic stuff. I said, if I would have touched that meter, the needle would have hung over to the right. He goes, yeah, that's why we use this.
I wonder what's in it that does that.
It's got some kind of anti-static in it. That's all I know.
Was the case of that 2000, Clark, was that painted or was it vinyl?
He went off to eat.
Oh, that's right. And then David's got a 950. I think that's probably wrapped in vinyl.
I don't think so. I thought it's a metal case.
No, the case, like, so what they'll do is they'll either paint the case with paint or they'll wrap it with vinyl.
I thought it's metal.
Yeah, no, you're not understanding me. A metal case that's spray painted, basically, versus a metal case that has a vinyl covering on it to make it look black.
Oh, okay.
Coating.
Roger.
So all your ICOMs, they're not painted. And so what happens is if you scratch them, you gouge the vinyl surface.
Oh, it's 751A. That has a metal casing.
That one is painted.
Well, it's metal casing, but it's got that vinyl coating on it, like he says. I've got one sitting in front of me in my icon, but yeah, that's what it is.
The 751 is green, and I'm pretty sure it's painted. It's kind of like a greenish olive color.
Right.
The 710 is also vinyl covered, but all the 3000, the 1200, the 891, and the 450 are painted. And I don't like it because, you know, it's like that really pixely porous paint, so then you get crap on it and it's hard to get it out of the paint, and then it makes it look dirty. You can like literally rub your finger across it and it will sandpaper the dead skin off your finger. So anyway, so I still got a ton of tooth pain, but they gave me amoxicillin, so maybe there's an infection in that one tooth.
G7OL.
KG7OL? Who's that?
Oh, other thing, when I had gum problems, Bram, I used hydrogen peroxide and a baking soda in a mixture. I know it sounds awful, but I don't know what that stuff does, but boy, oh boy, did that really heal my gums.
I had done that, and one of my fillings fell out, and the dentist told me, do not ever do that. And it wasn't the doctor, it was like the technician or whatever you call him. She said, oh my God, no, don't ever swish hydrogen peroxide in your mouth. And I said, well, why? And I don't remember what she said, but she said, don't do it.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know, because you would think it would help the gums, but it did kind of feel like it got in between the filling and did something weird on one of them.
Okay, that's interesting. I never heard that, but all right.
Yeah, it probably ate the filling. You know, the glue that holds the filling in?
Oh yeah, because not all fillings are created equal.
It just sucked it away, huh?
Even those ones that look like they're metal, they're actually not really metal. They're kind of polymer with a mixture in it.
You mean all these gold ones in the front of my mouth aren't real?
Well, that back then they were, but what they do nowadays is not.
I'm just kidding.
I've read a couple of books about dentistry, and this book I read a couple years ago. It said that dentists knew, 20 years ago that mercury fillings were bad for you, and that it was causing problems, but they refused to change.
I never knew they did mercury fillings.
They did back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s.
Are you serious? How would you fill a tooth with mercury? I mean, mercury is liquid at room temperature, right?
Mercury, it's an amalgam to contain mercury.
So in other words, I probably have some mercury in my mouth.
They did the amalgam with silver and mercury, and they found that eventually the mercury leaches into your body, from the filling, over like 20 or 30 years. And there were some people saying that it was causing secondary diseases in people, neurological diseases and some other weird diseases that are very hard to find a cause for.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But they refused. See, they were using this amalgam just because it was a very effective filling material, and it was cheap. That was another thing, and it was easy to use. So I don't know that much about all these materials. So, but the research they said was hidden, and they wouldn't let it come out. Now, I don't know. This sounds like a conspiracy, doesn't it?
Well, it sounds like people just wanted to make money and didn't care what happened to people.
So, and I know you probably think it's weird, but I had all of my mercury fillings removed about 5 or 6 years ago.
Boy, I bet that was a lot of work.
Well, it was, and I did it over like a 2-year period.
I don't know if I have any or not because I seem to remember in the 80s when I was a kid and I had my first adult teeth and I got cavities, I think they were using the white stuff.
And the dentist I was going to, I told him that's what I wanted to do, and then he said he wouldn't treat me anymore because he didn't believe in that stuff, that mercury. He said that that's all a bunch of bogus science.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe if you convince yourself enough that you'll believe your own lies, right?
Well, I mean, it was very hard to get a definitive scientific opinion. I mean, when you learn that there was mercury in the amalgam, I mean, you know how toxic mercury is, because I think mercury is one of the most toxic substances on the planet.
Yeah, it's not something that you want in your mouth in any form, shape, or anything.
I remember as kids, I mean, maybe you did too, we used to play with mercury. Did you ever play with mercury? Because you know how it kind of runs together and stuff. I don't know what we were doing with it.
Yeah, we broke old thermometers and stuff like that, and it was before anybody knew, to tell us, hey, don't break a thermometer and play with the shiny stuff.
Yes, Jerry, I did that.
Yeah, that was the fad at the time. I mean, that's when we started playing with mercury.
Well, so if you touch that mercury, it probably through osmosis got into your skin, through your skin.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
And it would roll around in the dirt. It was kind of crazy watching it, and it would like pick up dirt particles. Yeah, I think I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and we found like an old thermometer in the barn, and we broke it, and I saw the mercury come out of it, and we're playing around with it. Then they used to have mercury switches and all kinds of automotive stuff too.
I don't know if they've ever proven that the mercury fillings and the leaching of it in your mouth, if they directly correlated it to like Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis or all these other neurological diseases. I mean that was the implication, but I've never really seen the research that says that is what caused it.
Well, I'm sure it's not going to help you.
Well, I don't know, like I said, I don't know much about dentistry. How is it that if the filling is in your tooth, why would it leach out? Maybe it degrades over years, because, the fillings degrade. They don't last forever,
I had a guy tell me that he would trade me some dental work for a ham radio.
There you go.
This was like when we first moved here, and I forget what the hell I was selling. And the guy said, I'm a dentist or something, or I work at a dental clinic. I'll trade you dental work for your radio. I was like, absolutely not.
Well, professionally, ethically, I don't think you're allowed to do that. You're not allowed to trade like that. That's not.
Well, I mean, doesn't that just sound? Oh yeah, like come on over to my house and I'll give you a cleaning and any fillings you might need, and just bring over that ICOM 7300. We'll hook you up.
No, yeah, I don't think that's ethical.
No, well, and I was just like, I told him, I said, no, I don't need any dental work, and I won't be, going to somebody's house to get dental work done.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're right. What was that movie with Dustin Hoffman? You remember that where he was, being tortured?
No, I didn't see that.
You know what movie I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Oh, some Nazi guy was, torturing him, and they put him in a dental chair.
You will take the fillings.
I couldn't watch it. I had to turn around and walk out. I thought it was too painful to watch.
You will tell us the truth, and we will extract all teeth.
Guy pulls out the drill. Okay, you gonna tell me the truth?
I do think I have seen that clip. There was one worse than that. This guy, they had him in a chair, and he pulled out pruning shears, and they're like, "You're gonna tell us everything." But they cut off one of his fingers with the pruning shears before they even asked him anything. So of course, by the time they're going up to the next finger, he was ready to tell them anything they wanted to know.
You have to be pretty tough to be able to tolerate that kind of pain.
I see these things in movies, and I sometimes ask myself, Hollywood mimics reality. Are these people not projecting onto society as a whole, encouraging people to do evil things?
You talking about the movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's a lot of copycat stuff going on.
I mean, because all the really creepy movies and stuff that we see, and all the bad stuff that we see, and you watch it all the time, and then a lot of people think, depending on their state of mental health, but they think it's acceptable. Like Hollywood kind of normalizes certain things that are not okay. Yeah. Well, and so people just watch this stuff and they learn ideas from movies that they wouldn't necessarily have come up with on their own either.
I think you're right.
What am I going to do with all these radios?
And the answer is?
Um, I'm going to try and get rid of some of the other ones that don't make me happy. What I've noticed though is like with radios and stuff like that, you could be looking for a radio, at a certain time of the year, and you're not going to find anything you want, and then all of a sudden you'll find like 5 or 6 of them or whatever all at once. But it's kind of like if you want a good deal on certain things, sometimes you just have to like buy them when they pop up. And I had bought the 3000 the day before this, and I really didn't want to buy this radio at that point then. But I had already told the guy a week earlier, consider it sold, and so he was, kind of jerking me around, and I was like thinking to myself, I don't want to be like him. And I remembered how frustrated I was trying to contact him to buy the radio originally. So I was like, there's no way that I'm going to back out of this deal, especially not on a $200 radio.
Well, you traded some other old radios, so that was good.
Not on this one.
Oh, okay.
So the 3000 and the 2.5 kilowatt MFJ antenna tuner, those were $700 for the radio, $200 for the tuner, and I traded that guy $450 worth of stuff, and then gave him $450. But this radio here, I drove to Kingman and gave him $200, and I went home.
For what radio did you get for 200?
The Ft920.
Oh, okay, right. You're not. Is that what you're on right now?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. It sounds really good. You must have fixed it or something.
Well, it was just off frequency, 50 hertz, and so I had to adjust the. You can't. There's nothing in the menu that adjusts it, so I just adjusted the master reference oscillator. It just barely touched it, and it was automatically perfectly on. So that's all that it needed, and I don't know if he knew about that or not. I don't think he's used this radio in 15 years.
Yeah, no, I can't believe it's the same radio. You're right on the button.
And so I think this radio is 2003 vintage.
What color is the display?
Amber.
It's orange.
Yeah, it looks like a kind of looks like a 1000 MP basically. It's got the big VFO knob in the middle with the jog around the knob that I don't know if you have any radios that have the little shuttle jog they call it. And then it's got the other big knob, and then it's got the high and low cut knobs that are really huge on this radio too.
How much do you think it weighs?
30 pounds.
That's all?
Yeah, it's kind of light. It's not like super heavy, but it's not really light either. It's a size of a 950. Maybe a little taller, maybe a little bit bigger.
Alright, I'm back. You can quit talking about me, David.
Oh, Terry, there's no fun left tonight then.
Oh God, we forgot to. I'm not sure what to do with that MFJ tuner. It's really hard to turn the crank on it. It's not a roller inductor, it's an edge wound roller inductor, and I think maybe I don't really think it's ever been used, but it's so hard to turn that it feels like it's trying to bind up. It's not smooth at all, and it feels like you're gonna break the hand crank sometimes.
Somebody told me that if you take, auto grease, is that what it is, Terry? This kind of gooey auto grease, and then put it on the bar where you roll it on, and just go back and forth. That'll loosen it up and it'll turn easier.
I wouldn't use that. I don't know. It's hard to say where it's binding up at, Bram. Is it going through the case like that? Is there a nylon bushing that's like too tight on it and you just need to put a couple drops of light oil on it or something?
No, it's hitting certain spots where it wants to bind. And it's got this edge wound coil, if you've ever seen those, and the roller is like completely U-shaped, and so the edge part sits in it much deeper than a coil. I don't know if it's just like funny angles to the deal, and I know there are some adjustments because I've rebuilt the other MFJs, and yeah, Terry, you're right. You don't want to use that because it'll insulate it.
Yeah, you can't use automotive grease on that. It sounds like it's out of alignment. It seriously does, and I mean, you're going to have to take it all apart and look at it really close with a magnifying glass and a good light and see wherever it's binding at. That's going to give you the idea. It's either going on a slope or an angle, you know.
Yep, and I read a couple of reviews on DX Engineering from people left, and they described the same thing, you know. So I think it's how it was brand new. But I'm going to look on eHam and see, because a lot of times you get some pretty good knowledge on eHam, because guys will say, yeah, I bought this thing for $849. I was so pissed off and I got rid of it. Or they say, well, I bought it for $849 and I was mad, so I took it apart and I figured out this is what they did wrong.
Right, well, it could be just a poor assembly or something as simple as something the part wasn't manufactured in China correctly when they assembled it, you know?
Oh, yeah, and I already found that there's a switch on the back for balanced line. It was just, the wire's just sitting there. They soldered it, but the two wires weren't soldered together at all.
That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, just take your time to take it apart and sit down and stare at it for a while with a good bright light on it and move things around it, and you'll probably figure it out. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just something that moves back and forth, you know?
Yep. Speaking of that, I was, you ever had to try and rehang a door on a vehicle?
Yeah, David. Do what on the vehicle?
Rehang a door, and then it won't latch right, and it's not closing right?
Yeah, that's a real pain in the ass. You gotta use shims and everything, yeah.
Yeah, I finally got the old F250 to close. I can, like, literally close it with one finger now. I'm like, oh my god! So I had the jack underneath the door with a wood block, and then I was adjusting the bolts and doing this, and then tilting this and tilting that. And then the striker pin, you know, I had to replace that too.
Right, and people don't think about the striker pin or the striker itself because the latch, you know, and the thing, sometimes they'll just, somebody slams it and it wasn't tight so it moves, you know?
Yep, and those Fords, they use a piece of plastic around the striker pin. And a lot of times, like if you were like, you know, a young kid and you bought somebody's old truck, and you didn't know that it used to have a piece of plastic on the striker pin, and that's why they don't close right once that plastic comes off. So that's what happened to mine. It was out of alignment, and then it knocked the plastic off the pin, and then, you know, you got the door will shut, but then it's hanging open kind of.
Yep.
So I finally got that done. And then I looked under the white truck, and it's puking out the rear end, so I got some work cut out for me.
If it's coming out of the rear end, you got a pinion still, huh?
Yep, and it's coming from the front.
Good luck. That's a pain in the ass.
You know, I've never been successful at repairing one of those myself.
I had a friend who, man, he was a differential specialist for Toyota, and everybody used to bring things to him. And he told me how to do one, you know, do it in, you know, and I could do it with his instructions, but I wouldn't know to do it on my own.
Those Fords have a big, huge, I don't know what, 10.5, 10.25. It's called a Sterling. And I'm pretty sure the trick is there's something called a crush sleeve that has to be put on there, and it has to get a new one. So you would pull off the yoke and then pull the seal off, and then the sleeve is really the issue, not the actual seal.
That's what he used to say, the crush sleeve, and that's what the seal rides on because to keep the oil from coming out. And that's what he used to tell me. I swear to God, and that was with my race car. So it's like when I first put my race car together, the radio was took it out of the car and brought it over there, and he goes, yeah, da 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 da, and we put it all back together. That thing never leaked again.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and I've never done a crush sleeve before, so. But I did the Chevys and the other ones; they all leaked again. So I was like, "Oh man, this sucks."
Well, so when you put the crush sleeve in and your seal or whatever, you're only supposed to torque it to a certain tightness, I think, so that you don't crush the crush sleeve too far, right?
Yeah, and I just thought that was only something you did when you were setting up new gears, But yeah, so I'll have to research it on that rear end, but I know that's got to be why it's leaking,
I'm sure you can Google it and somebody will explain it exactly to you. It's that easy nowadays,
Yep, KG7HR.
E6RWB.
I barely hear you, Alex. You got your amp on?
Yeah, the amp's on.
Ben must not be very good right now.
It's been fluctuating, Graham. You've been up and down, and so has Alex. So it's not real steady.
That's because I've been lazy and I haven't been going over here and pushing down the foot pedal.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Adjusting the RF gain up and down and trying to hear you and your audio.
I need to get the ARB 704 and just hook it up,
That's what I got.
Then David over there's got mercury.
He's got mercury coming out of his mercury.
He's mercury poisoning. This is the dog. I'm sorry. David can't talk right now. He's busy taking me outside.
Oh yeah, when you were down, he said, "Be right back."
Yeah, I-7 on.
Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, guys.
Where are you at today?
Oh, Chandler. Gonna be in Chandler for a few months.
A few months? Oh my goodness. How will you ever survive?
Well, we're gonna be here until it's 100 degrees again. Yeah, it might be a week after next.
Well, it's probably pretty cold at the other place, right?
We have another place, that's okay.
Dave, I'm on a 920 Yaesu Ft920. It kind of looks like a little baby 1000. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, I looked it up the other day. I'm impressed. It looks pretty cool.
It looks like they tried to make the front of it look like a TS2000.
Really does look like a 1000 with some buttons missing.
I had the 1000 and it behaves really similar. The noise reduction actually works. I don't know why it works as well as it does. And the noise blanker like wipes out all the noise on 10 meters that you usually hear that certain radios just don't get rid of. But the receiver is just like, I was just listening to it. I was like, wow.
The $200 one?
Yeah. So I had to adjust the reference oscillator. I just barely touched it, and all of a sudden it was perfectly on frequency. I had 0 beat to just nothing.
Okay. I thought you got the 3000. Where's the 920?
I got the 3000 the day before this one.
I almost bought one of those. The guys bought it and they didn't want it like a week later. I forget what he wanted for it. $1,100 or something. I could have bought it.
For a 3000.
Yeah.
It's a really good radio. If you guys want to hear it, I'll jump on it.
Doesn't matter to me.
You know me, I like to play musical radios.
I haven't changed my radio for like 2 years.
I think I've got about 20 radios, Alex, so it's kind of like, well, there's certain ones I don't use. I've got a tempo one over here. I don't use it. Yes, I could use it, but, you know, you guys would be getting so tired of hearing me drift every minute.
Well, I got a tempo one. I don't know. I've never tried it.
Well, I don't know if they're all drifty, but mine has got something else wrong with it, too.
I think mine needs to. Well, that's actually Yaesu, right?
Yeah, it is. It was made by Henry. The Yaesu made an Ft920. That's the same radio. And then there's probably a summer camp version of it that was sold in Europe, I think.
Somebody just gave me the tempo watt meter.
I don't know what that would look like.
Pretty big.
Does it go to 2,000 watts?
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't really look at it.
The one I want to fix that I really like that really doesn't make sense is this old Heathkit Hot Water 101. And I like it. I think it's cool, but it's got a hum on it, so obviously I'm not going to keep using it. It needs capacitors in the power supply.
Well, I got the tempo 2003 amp.
That's got to be very rare.
Yeah, it's got the 8874 in it. I don't know, I haven't even tried it, but I had Ross work on it. Put some capacitors or do something. I don't know what he did to it. I'll be happy with that Mercury 3.
I'm happy.
Hey, David.
Hi, Alex.
Mercury all over your desk.
Oh, you think there's mercury in the Mercury 3?
That's why they call it a Mercury.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gotten it, Terry.
Yeah, just send it over here. I'll get all the mercury out of it.
All right, you can do that?
Yeah. When I send it back to you, it's going to look like a Tentec.
I talked to a guy at night. He said he's got a big old jar of mercury. I thought that stuff would be good for cleaning rifle barrels or something. I don't know what it's good for.
So isn't the mercury illegal?
Maybe. Probably. I don't know. He's got like a whole pint of it or something. It must weigh a lot. I got some mercury tilt relays or switches. You know, the side of your finger when you tilt it over, it gets contact. They're pretty cool. Maybe good for a float switch or for a pump or something.